Welcome to Active Shooter, the podcast.
After decades now of mass shootings, we haven't found the answer.
A tribute to the victims of two mass shootings.
Thank you for listening to Active Shooter, the podcast.
You are listening to Active Shooter, a podcast that may contain adult themes, explicit language, and graphic depictions of violence. Portions of this show may be traumatic for those under 18. Listener discretion is advised.
Authorities are trying to figure out what triggered this rampage. Investigators say the suspect randomly chose his victims and then shot them.
Shots fired. We have one confirmed victim right now.
Overnight, a city gripped with fear after multiple shootings took place across Kalamazoo, Michigan. But now, residents waking up knowing the suspect is in custody. The shooting spree spanning 13 miles at 3 different locations.
When Matt Mellon requested an Uber on the afternoon of February 20th, 2016, he didn't know that he would be riding with the devil. The man that picked him up would go on a deadly shooting rampage in the town of Kalamazoo, Michigan, killing 6 innocent people and severely injuring an additional 2. After being pulled over and surrendering himself to police, the man would use the classic excuse of, "The devil made me do it." If you've listened to our prior episodes, you know that the Active Shooter podcast team has taken the no notoriety pledge, and we will not be sharing the real name of the shooters that we cover. We will be giving the shooters a pseudonym and refer to them by that name throughout the episode. This will help in clearing up any confusion in the story, while remaining true to our pledge in not naming the shooter by their actual name. In today's episode, we will be referring to the shooter as Daniel. At about 4 p.m. on the afternoon of February 20th, 2016, Matt Mellon requested an Uber to pick him up and take him to his friend's house, where he left his vehicle the night before.
February 20th, I remember so vivid. It's like one of our first warm days, maybe in the 40s, and the snow was melting. It was the break from the winter. I just remember happy, smiling, laughing. That's what the sun does to you the first warm days here in Michigan, because you never know when the sun might be out again, for sure.
At 4:21 p.m., Matt was picked up by a man, Daniel, who was driving a silver Equinox, just as the Uber application said he would be. Daniel had his dog, a large German Shepherd, in the back seat of his vehicle, so Matt had to sit in the front seat. Matt thought this was a little strange, as he was used to sitting in the back seat of the Uber vehicles he had previously ridden in, but he didn't think any more of it as he jumped into the front seat and buckled his seatbelt. Matt and Daniel made small talk during the first part of their ride. Matt later commented that Daniel seemed like a normal guy, and there was nothing suspicious about him. Daniel's phone began to ring, and he answered it via the Bluetooth system in his car, so the conversation came through the vehicle's speakers, and Matt could hear the conversation Daniel was having with his son. There was nothing unusual about their conversation. They made small talk, and his son asked Daniel if he was going to be home for dinner. Matt said the conversation was short, and lasted less than a minute. After Daniel ended the call with his son, everything changed. He immediately started driving erratically. He floored the gas pedal, drove into oncoming traffic, and drove through a median. Daniel's driving obviously scared Matt, who repeatedly asked Daniel to stop so he could get out. However, Daniel refused to stop the car. Matt recalled that Daniel had ran through at least one stop sign, and also sideswiped a Ford Taurus. Upon striking the Taurus, Daniel kept on driving, and he didn't show any signs of stopping soon. When Daniel finally decided to stop at a stop sign, Matt opened the door and tumbled out of the front seat. Matt was now in a residential area, and a witness heard the commotion from her house and saw Matt tumble out of the car. She ran outside and asked if he was okay.
Pedal to the metal, probably 75, 80 miles an hour down this road. I was bracing for impact, basically. I was pleading for him to stop at this point because it was like, you just hit that car. And he's like, I didn't hit any car. We were going so fast, we just blew right through this. At one point, I even thought about hitting him.
As Matt dialed 911, he told the witness about the terrifying ride he had just been on and wanted to make sure the authorities knew that there was a man driving recklessly on the streets of Kalamazoo.
911.
I was just in the car with my Uber driver. He was weaving in and out of lanes. He sideswiped the car.
Okay, what kind of car is it?
Chevy Equinox.
Did you want to talk to an officer, sir, or you just want me to put out an alert over the radio?
I just wanted to report it because I don't want someone to get hurt.
I understand what you're saying, but I need to know if you want to talk to an officer or if you want me to have an officer, just be on the lookout for it.
I just want to be on the lookout.
Okay, thank you.
Unfortunately, erratic driver calls happen quite frequently, and unless the police witness the erratic or reckless driving, there isn't a whole lot they can do about it.
People call in erratic drivers. There's not much that the police can do, unless the police witness that vehicle driving erratically themselves, which unfortunately in this incident, the officers did not see that vehicle.
After Matt had finally made it to his vehicle and returned home, he filed a complaint with Uber about the careless driver. Unfortunately, at that time, Uber only had an email service that a passenger could use to file a complaint, but the passenger had to wait until someone contacted them back. At 4:34 p.m., Daniel returned home and contacted his wife, asking her to meet him at his parents' house. Before meeting his wife, he picked up another Uber ride request. Macy Eldridge submitted a pickup request for her boyfriend, who was at his own apartment, and was requesting he be picked up and taken to Macy's apartment. Daniel arrived at the Meadows apartment complex and became angry because he got lost and couldn't find Macy's boyfriend's apartment. He was repeatedly calling Macy and raising his voice, telling her she had given him the wrong directions.
He was calling me and telling me, saying I was giving him wrong directions and was getting upset with me and then had hung up on me. And I just kept texting, and I was like, are you there yet?
Frustrated, Daniel hung up on Macy. As he was driving around the apartment complex, he spotted a young female who was walking with 5 children across the apartment complex through the playground area. The woman, Tiana Carruthers, was taking her 7-year-old daughter and some of her friends to another friend's apartment to play.
I was in the house just finishing up a workout, trying to get fit for the summer. And my daughter was with some young ladies. And they came in like, Mom, we really want to go over this girl's house named Joy. Can we go over her house? And so I was like, okay, I'll walk you over there. We'll go meet her mom.
Daniel drove over to Tiana and asked if she was Macy. Tiana reported that he was very confrontational and rude towards her. When Tiana said she wasn't Macy, Daniel squealed his tires and drove away. A short time later, Daniel turned around and drove back to Tiana. Before Tiana could even say a word, Daniel rolled the window down and immediately started firing his Glock pistol at her. Tiana was first hit in the left arm. While she was running away from the bad man, she was shot in the right leg, which caused her to fall to the ground. While on the ground, still scrambling to get away, she was shot again in the left leg. The 4th shot hit her from behind and lodged in her liver. As Tiana was being shot, she yelled at the children to run.
And I told the girls, run, no matter what, you run and do not come back.
While falling to the ground, she continued to try and shield the children from being shot. Miraculously, not a single one of the kids was shot or even injured. Daniel then drove off, leaving Tiana to die on the sidewalk of the apartment complex. Luckily, numerous neighbors heard the commotion and ran out to see what they could do to help Tiana. As 911 was called and emergency services were en route, Tiana kept asking how the kids were and if they were okay. Her neighbors told her that the kids were fine, and she shouldn't move as she was severely injured.
Kalamazoo County 911.
Hello, I need an ambulance. Please hurry up. Somebody fire shots.
Then like 9-10 gunshots right outside our apartment complex.
We need someone here.
Okay, over on High Meadows?
Please don't move. They coming, okay? Please don't move. We got the kids. Please don't move.
When the ambulance and police showed up to help Tiana, she was able to tell them what had happened and gave a description of the man that had tried to kill her. It didn't take long for police to figure out that Tiana had just given the same description that Matt gave of the crazy Uber driver who picked him up about an hour and a half earlier. Dispatch even called Matt to confirm the description that he gave to them.
Hello?
Hi, did you call earlier about the Uber driver?
Yeah, he picked me up from my house. Did you guys catch him, or?
No, we were just trying to see if he was involved in another incident. Okay?
I have his name from Uber. It's Jason.
While the emergency crew was tending to Tiana and loading her into the ambulance, Daniel was still driving like a madman on the streets of Kalamazoo. He ran a red light, which caused him to be involved in another accident. However, Daniel did not stop after colliding with that vehicle.
Kalamazoo County 911.
Hello. I needed an officer to come out. I was just involved in an accident where a guy ran a red light and hit me in an intersection.
Daniel continued driving to his parents' house to meet his wife. He told his wife that he was involved in an accident and needed a different vehicle. When she asked what happened, he told her that the accident was caused by an angry cab driver, and that the cab drivers in town were upset with Uber drivers for taking their business. Daniel went into his parents' house, walked upstairs to his father's closet, and took his father's handgun, loaded it, and handed it to his wife. He told them they couldn't go back home because it wasn't safe there, and that she and the children couldn't go to work or school on Monday. Daniel told his wife that he couldn't tell her what he was about to do, or what exactly was going on, but she would hear about it later that night on the news. Before his wife could even answer, he was out the door. Daniel tried to leave in his Hummer. However, he couldn't get it started, so he went back inside and got the keys to his parents' Chevrolet HHR. He put the keys in the ignition and took off yet again. At 6:44 p.m., Daniel went to a local ATM and took money out. He then drove around Kalamazoo for about 30 minutes. At about 7:19 p.m., Daniel returned to his own home. While at home, Daniel left the Glock handgun he used to shoot Tiana Carruthers on his workbench in the basement. He then retrieved a different handgun and put on a bulletproof vest. Just minutes later, he was on the road again and on his way to pick up another Uber passenger. Once he picked up the passenger, he drove just under 2 miles and dropped him off at his destination at 8:18 p.m. The passenger said that Daniel acted completely normal. He then continued to pick up several more passengers, who all said that their drive was calm, and they carried on conversations and made small talk. He was listening to the radio, even singing along. Nothing seemed unusual about him. A Be on the Lookout, or BOLO, had been issued for Daniel's silver Equinox, since this was the car he was driving when he drove Matt Mullen to his destination, as well as when he shot Tiana Carruthers. Little did the investigators know that Daniel changed vehicles, and was now driving the black Chevrolet HHR. At 9:58 p.m., Richard Smith, his son Tyler, and Tyler's girlfriend Alexis stopped at a car dealership to look at cars for sale. Tyler had his eyes set on a bright blue pickup truck, and he wanted to stop to show his dad the vehicle. Richard and Tyler got out of their vehicle to get a closer look at the truck, while Alexis was waiting in the back seat. Just a couple of minutes later, at 10:01 p.m., Daniel spotted the father-son duo standing outside in the dealership parking lot. Daniel pulled in and parked his car. Surveillance video shows that at 10:05 p.m., Daniel approached Richard and Tyler and asked them what they were looking at. Before either could even answer him, Daniel opened fire, shooting 18 rounds in total, killing both Richard and Tyler immediately. Daniel then nonchalantly walked away, got back into his vehicle, and drove away. Luckily, he didn't know that Alexis was hiding in the back seat of the vehicle. Otherwise, she very well could have lost her life too. Witnesses across the street from the dealership heard shots being fired, and when they saw what happened to be 2 men lying on the ground, one witness immediately called 911 and reported what she saw.
Kalamazoo County 911.
Hi, we just drove by the Kia. What road are we on? A 94 Business, and a guy just shot some people in the parking lot.
Just to advise, we do have a witness over at the Burger King parking lot.
Did you see who the person was that was shooting?
No, it was, I just turned because we heard gunshot. We could see the smoke from his gun and hear it as we drove by.
Well, we have several officers on the way. Okay.
Okay, one police officer's